recording. Okay, so let me basically this session is about adding a security layer for our services. Currently, for instance, we have PO and invoice related services that you have worked on, which has front end and back end. As you might already guess, the back end includes a database that is hosted on DynamoDB of AWS, and some lambdas that are written in Python, and these lambdas are exposed to the clients as REST API. One of the clients is whatever you have developed. You have developed a JavaScript client which runs either on the browser, either on the mobile browser or on the desktop browser, where they invoke or they consume the APIs that we are exposing from the server side. So as a diagram, I think this is a very much known diagram. Is like this. So you have, one second. One second. I'm looking for a specific picture. Is it here? Right. So we have several lambdas written, right? So they are the ones which are the workhorses. They are the ones actually develop the functional logic. And finally, they are exposed to the rest of the world through API. Let me see if there is any popular figure for that. Gateway, API gateway, we can say. I think for Lambda itself, they have a symbol. Right, instead of non-standard symbols, let me keep those things. Okay, so these symbols are very popular. That's why I'm replacing with the things. So this is the DynamoDB database. That is our database system. I'll show you these things. And we have one or other Lambda functions. In our case, we are writing Python-based Lambda. And this is API gateway. And then we have the client applications. Client applications are your browser applications. None of these things are looking nice, but let me put this one. In our case, it is browser client. If we have mobile applications, then you have mobile clients or IoT clients, different clients you may have. So what is going on now? You make a call, all right? You make a call to the gateway. How do you make those calls? You simply give the REST API signature. Okay, that beautification I'll do later. Let's say if you give things like HTTP / we are having some URL, right? Now, whatever that URL /ERP/ I think v1 /ERP/PO. Let's say if this is our API with a GET request, who receives it? It is the gateway that receives it, because that is how the URL is made. The URL points to this gateway. And this gateway, upon looking at the complete URL, it maps to, or it invokes a Python piece of code, which we call as Lambda function. And this Lambda may talk to the database to get hold of some data so that it can finally send it back to the client. Is this clear so far, our current architecture?
Yes, it is clear.
Right. This entire thing is what we call as the server. Right. In our case, it is AWS based. It can be anything, of course, but in our case, it is AWS based. Right. Now, the problem with the existing architecture is that whoever is having this URL, they can make the calls and they can get hold of the data. Means anybody can create invoices, anybody can create purchase orders, anybody can change the status of our invoices as long as they know the IP, the URI. That is not a good idea. That is not a good idea. We want to put security for this. Security means, again, because we are doing everything based on AWS, AWS provides us a security service using something called Cognito. They have a special service called Cognito. Okay. Right. What this Cognito does is, this is the one which maintains our user list, their permissions. It's not exactly permissions, rather user list we can say. So that every time a client makes a call at a point of time, if a client makes a call to the API gateway to our URLs, what we expect is that the API gateway checks it with the Cognito to see whether the request is legitimate request or not. I don't know why this line is teasing me. Okay, now I got it. Okay. I hope you understood what I'm saying. So API gateway, instead of calling the Lambda, what we want to do is like let the API gateway go to the Cognito. Let the API gateway go to Cognito. Check with the Cognito whether this particular user is really the currently logged, or whoever is making the call is a legitimate user for this service or not. Once it says that it is legitimate, only then this Lambda, this gateway will pass it to the Lambda. Means when we write our Lambda functions or databases, we do not deal with the security at all. Means if the call is received by the Lambda, it simply assumes that whatever security checks are supposed to be done, they are already done. It just assumes that. Because of this kind of assumption, we need not to keep rewriting the Lambdas every time we change our security policies. The same Lambda, the same DynamoDB, everything works without any change in their code. They just work as they are already. But by having an interceptor like Cognito in between, or by having the API gateway working along with a Cognito based, it need not be Cognito. In our case, it is Cognito. All right, it checks with as long as Cognito is there in place, gateway can make sure the user is legitimate. How Cognito does these things? Cognito is a big service, in fact. What it can do is like it can help us in creating the login screens, registration screens. In the sense, if you talk about authentication in general, all right, or security, what are the things that we do? One is like sign up, all right, sign in, sign out. These are the basic things, all right. So somebody should be able to register with the service, somebody should be able to log in, somebody should be able to sign out. Maybe similarly, somebody should be able to, if you just keep on adding the other flows, it would be other things like forgot password flow. All right, somebody might have forgot the password, so we want to recreate. Just because somebody signed up, we may not want to give the registration. Rather, we may want to send a verification code. Only after they click on some verification link or verification code, we want to finalize the registration. Maybe something like confirm registration or confirm sign up or activate. People give different names. You may activate the thing or something like that, right? Whether they forgot the password or not, they may want to change the password, right? And these kind of things. There are certain levels. You have multi-factor authentication or MFA, where it is not just only about username password, may also be about like we may challenge them to enter phone number or OTP, different things every time they sign in. That is called as multi-factor. That means it would provide more robust security. All these services Cognito offers to us. When we say Cognito offers, what it means is that it is not going to give you screens and etc. Rather, it provides us with mechanisms so that you can develop an application to complete these flows. That is one way to look at Cognito. The other way to look at Cognito is that it is essentially a database of users. It is essentially a user's database. So when every time you register, it adds an entry into that into the database with a status saying that it is not activated. Once we activate, it would say it is activated, and so on. It just goes on like that. So that is the kind of service we are planning to use here. So let me just showcase like how Cognito look like from the AWS side. So I'm logging into AWS console. And this is where I have the Cognito service. So it is saying Amazon Cognito. This is about user database or user pools and identity pools. There are two things here. Let us look at user pools first. User pool is essentially user database. So I have one user pool currently, right? For our application, let's say the same users of ERP may not be the users for quiz application. Quiz application users may not be the users for maybe our game application. So for different applications, we can have different user pools. Currently, I am just having one user pool called Glarimai user pool. Okay. Once I enter into this, what we are having is a unique ID for this. All right. I hope you are able to see this one. US East 1 and blah, blah, blah. There is some name. It starts with TSLF, something like that. This is user pool's identity. Just like you have PO ID, invoice ID, and etc. This is a user pool identity. Forget about IARNs and etc. The current number of users in this pool is only one as of now. And when I set up this user pool, what I said is like, if somebody wants to register with Cognito, they must provide us with a name and email. Unless they provide their name and email, registration will not be accepted by the Cognito. That is how I, set it up. And email will be used as the username. Whatever email they give, that becomes the username. And it is case sensitive. I'm not asking for any other custom attributes. Custom attributes can be like different things like phone number, gender, address, blah, blah, blah. We don't require. And I also said the password length must be minimum 8. And password policy is that it must have upper cases, lower cases, special characters, and numbers. And we are saying like users can sign up themselves. It is not that we only give the sign up. Rather, if there is a way for them to sign up, they can sign up directly. Just like you register for various websites. And for verification code, we'll be sending an email. And multi-factor authentication, we are not checking. Verification is via email, not by phone. So these are basically these are the things that I have enabled for this particular pool. We can create any number of such pools, right? We can create any number of such pools. Let's say, let me go back. Let's say if I want to say create a new user pool, let me say temp pool. And then I need to set up these things. What do you want? Username based, fine. Is it email or phone or only email or whatever? I just only said email, because if it is phone, I need to spend money on sending SMS and we need to purchase SMS service. We don't want to get into all those unnecessary things for us. So I just only said email and case sensitive user input. And the attributes I require are like email and name. You can check, you can see like there are several other things we can say, specify. And then I said, this is the password policy. Users can set up themselves or not, or only administrator can set up. And multi-factor authentication off. How do they recover from a given account? Via email, that is by default, I just set up that one. How do you verify a particular attribute? Via email again. Any role you want to, you may give some role, don't bother about that. And customizing email address, you can, I haven't, it is currently default. We can change this one actually. I can, earlier I used something else. Now I think I changed it. Right, and verification messages, whether you want to give a link or you want to give the code. All right, it can be anything. And what would be the message that you want to send? All right, and so basically this is how you set up. Once you set up everything, then you will get this kind of a user. So once we have this pool, we can create, when a user registers, that user ID will be added to this place. So currently how many users? Only one user. This is internal username. It is currently enabled. Account is status is confirmed, means email is verified. You can see that one here. Phone number verification is not there, and when and what, all such things. If I click on this one, it gives you the other details like what was the user, the name, and what was the email ID. What was the email ID? If I don't want, if I want to remove this person from the list, I can say disable and then delete. I can change the password on my own here. This is from the administration point. All right, so those are our users. If somebody want to register, how do they register? As I mentioned, either through UI like this. All right, I can create a user from here, but we don't want that one. Users should be able to register for themselves. Let's say our quiz application is there. Tomorrow, if I want to enable security on that, then there should be a link on the UI. So let's say your ERP application. Currently, everything is just appearing as it is. Rather, it may be in the first screen. You may ask for actually login or register. If they click on register, there should be a form where they take name and email. And they should make some kind of calls so that it comes to this Cognito. All right, so that's the process here. Now I have policies, blah, 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 all these things are fine. If you want to remember the devices, there are lots of things actually, all such kind of things. But one of the important things is something called app client. App client is like, just because I have Cognito, you cannot have a number of applications just talk to this Cognito. No. For every application that we want to develop, we want to create somebody called an app client here. Whoever is having this app client ID only can contact Cognito even for registration. Means if somebody, let's say some XYZ person in America, USA, if they want to create a sign-in layer for our ERP application, they cannot, because they need to know this app client ID, without which they cannot create an application like this. An app client ID we need to have. Similarly, they need to have the user pool ID, right? There are few IDs like this. They are not secrets really, but they need to have them. They will have to have them. So I have set up such kind of a Glarimai user pool. There are federated identities as well. We call them as identity pools. This is Glarimai identity pool. Identity pool is like how many people really identified with this particular one, like for every time you sign in and etc. I'll show you this one, but important thing is that this identity pool also will have an ID. This identity pool also will have an ID. You see, this is an identity pool ID. So if you just look at, if you just observe like what I said so far, it appears that there are too many number of IDs or some codes or something like that we need to have for developing a security layer on the client side, from the client side. But just because Cognito is set up, it doesn't mean that our APIs, our REST APIs are secure. If Cognito is set up, the next thing we need to do is like, we need to make sure that API gateway is going to talk to this Cognito. If this link is not present, the calls will continue to go to Python Lambda. For instance, let me open our API gateway. So if you look at the API gateway, we have, I have some API gateway by name ERP. Oh, I'm opening Visual also. There is something called ERP. This is the API that is currently you people are using. Sandeep knows it better because he is making the Ajax calls. So after that, ERP slash client, ERP slash invoice, ERP slash PO, ERP slash vendor. For instance, if you want to get all the list of clients, this is the thing that is actually working here. All right, slash ERP slash client as a get request. If you make, this method is connected to a Lambda called so and so. So if I open that Lambda, there you will be seeing the Python logic, Python code, which is in turn connects to the DynamoDB. Wait for a while. Okay, let it come up. Doesn't matter. So basically, this particular scheme is already there. We need to connect API gateway with Cognito. So this is Lambda, right? It is connecting to DynamoDB table called Glarimai clients, and it is making a call saying like scan everything, get me all the items. So it is just getting all the records from a given particular client's table. That is what currently happening. So how do I make this call? Let me show you like, so if I want to get all the clients, what is the URL? This is the URL. So let me click. This is the URL I have given it to you. So it is showing the list of those things. There is no security currently. Anybody who is having this URL, whatever you are seeing in the address bar, anyone can make this call and they will get back this client. But at the same time, I haven't held security for this one, but for one more thing, for one other API call, I created something called temp, right? This temp get. So this is the URL. I am going to this URL now. It is saying unauthorized. It is not allowing me to get the response back because I'm expecting security credentials for using this particular URL. How I did this? It is because in the API gateway, I have enabled security for that particular API alone. So let me go to the resources again. And this is where you have the temp in which we have the get operation. And once you see the get operation, all right, if I look at the method request, this is where I said authorization is based on something called Glarimai authorizer. For others, authorization was none. For all other APIs, the authorization was none, just like this thing. Whereas for this particular thing alone, I said the Glarimai authorizer should do the authorization. Who is this Glarimai authorizer? In our case, it is Cognito. How do I know? Let me look at what is this Glarimai authorizer. Here, there is a list of authorizers. So let me show you what is Glarimai authorizer. Who is that? It is saying it is a Cognito user pool. Pool name is TSL blah, 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 blah. And if you remember, that's what I was showing in the beginning, right? When I was showing the user polls, these are whatever you are seeing are identity polls. So when you go to the user poll, see, this is the user. That is the same thing I have configured in the API gateway. In the API gateway. So what does it mean? The Glarimai authorizer is, right? You can create any number of authorizers. Let's say I'm creating one more authorizer. What is the name? Let me give temp authorizer. Whether it is based on Lambda or Cognito, let's say Cognito. Cognito means user pool. Which user pool? I have only one user pool currently. And so on. That is how I created the other one also. So this is my user pool. Means if you look at the diagram, the API gateway for a particular API, what is that API? It is like v1 temp. If it is v1 temp, or let me give the full URL, whatever we have tried already. This is the URL we tried, which is currently saying you cannot access. That is the URL we are trying, right? So when I try this URL, it is coming to API gateway. And in the gateway configuration, I said for that particular resource, I said, if it is temp and if it is get operation, then it would be going through the authorizer called Glarimai authorizer. And we also have seen from the list of authorizers that Glarimai authorizer means this so-and-so user pool. And that user pool is this guy. Means until unless the user is registered with this user pool and he is enabled, confirmed with one of these things, they cannot cross this Cognito. So for this to work, what the browser should do now, along with just saying this is my URL, it also need to give the username and password as registered with the Cognito. Whatever usernames and passwords are registered with the Cognito, they must be sent along with the URL. Only then the API gateway, upon receiving the request, it send it to the Cognito and say like, can you please check username and password? The only user currently is, as you have seen, with the email ID called krishna@glarimai.com, and password is will not be even shown to the admin also. Only user knows that password. So as long as this guy sends, Cognito checks, if says, yeah, this guy is proper guy, then only API gateway passes it on to the actual Lambda. Who is the actual Lambda in my case? The API gateway for this particular temp resource. Who is the actual Lambda? Glarimai temp security is the Lambda. These are all temporary things only for prototyping. And this Lambda, what is it doing? If somebody really able to invoke this Lambda, all it does is like, it just says like temp security is working or temp Lambda is working. Nothing more than that. It's not doing anything really great. But currently we are not getting this response back. Rather, we are getting the response saying that you are not authorized to call this particular guy because we are not sending the username and password. I hope you understand the overall picture now. By having Cognito in place, we can protect our REST API or our gateway or our Lambdas from unauthorized users. So for anybody to use our Lambda or gateway or Dynamo or whatever it is, in one particular word, it is APIs. If anybody wants to use our API, first they need to register with us, get the credentials registered, and from there onwards they need to log in, and only then they should be able to get these things done. Right. So now what is your job? What is your job? The backend setup configuration I have done. Now as a client developer, you people need to have a screen for sign in, sign out registration. Okay, but okay, you will be having a screen where user will enter their name and email ID and suggested password. But after capturing all these three things in the client, how do you send it to the Cognito? For registration, you need to go to the Cognito first, right? How do you go there? For that, Cognito gives us various mechanisms in various languages. For instance, if you are, in our case, it is JavaScript, right? If you are interested in working with Cognito, using AWS Cognito using JavaScript. All right. Then they have various packages. This is the package, Amazon Cognito Identity JS. Why it is so slow, the network? Okay, so it is Amazon Cognito Identity SDK, Software Development Kit for JavaScript. So they give us like how we can get this hold of this one and what we can do with it. And they have given some flows as well. They have given very good documentation. Use case 1, how do you register? To register, you need to have a pool ID, user pool ID, client ID. I hope you remember them, right? What is our user pool ID? This is the user pool ID. What is the client ID? And this is the client ID. All right, so such kind of stuff. So you need to give the user pool ID, you need to have the client pool ID, then create user pool object, then create the attribute list. In our case, attributes are email and name only. In this example, they are using phone number, of course. And then call sign up on user pool by passing those data. Then it gives you some callback function. In the callback function, you do something. So they have given how do you confirm the user ID? How do you resend the confirmation code? How do you log in, means authenticate a user? And how do you retrieve the user data once they log in? Different things. How do you delete a user attribute, update user attributes? Let's say if they want to change their phone number or something like that. How you enable multi-factor authentication? How do you change the current password? And blah 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 blah. Lot of flows. There are lots of flows. We may or may not require each and every flow, but there are definitely few flows that we require. The flows include the sign in, sign up, and those are the basic things we require. Right. So what we are doing is, instead of every client developer, every application developer of Glarimai developing this security API, what we want to do is like we want to develop a reusable library called Glarimai Cognito. Glarimai Cognito. This is the project for that, in which we are having a file called Cognito.js, and this is where I have written some functionality, the prototype functionality. It's always the case as an architect, I set up basic things in place so that you can start and do the rest of the stuff from there. So what am I doing is like we are creating this particular library which offers functions like sign up, verify, sign in, sign up, verify, sign in, and one more thing called get resource. Get resource is actually to make the real call. Our real call is to make a call to this Lambda, right? This one, to make a call along with username, password. So how do we do that? Get resource means it is a get API call. Similarly, you will have post resource, you will have put resource, delete resource methods later. So here there are few things that we know. Pool ID, as you have seen the TLSLF, identity pool ID, I have shown you somewhere, login ID, and from there onwards we'll be, these things are required, and these are all made in this manner by concatenating few things. Let's say if it is for signing up, whatever Cognito internally asks, we don't care. As a user of this particular Cognito.js, as an end user, you need to send only name, email ID, and password to register. So the rest of the stuff, our library would do. Once it completes that job, maybe if you want to verify what? Email, a verification code against an email. To sign in, you require a password and email ID. All right. And to get a resource, you just need to have the URI so that you should get this. All right. So these are the APIs. I just created a simple example also. Finally, when you are developing, let's say ERP kind of an application, as long as you have our Cognito service. Currently the Cognito is in the index.js, so this is how it is coming. This first line, this is for the local example. What you need to do is, once you have the Cognito, Glarimai Cognito, only these 4-5 lines of code should be enough for you to log in, for you to sign in, blah 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 kind of things. Let me create something else. Let me say registration, register.js. Let's say I want to register a new user, and for that what I should do? Maybe I'll be pasting this code from the index.js, not only sign in, rather I'll be using sign up function. So by signing up, what happens? My entry will be getting into the Cognito. To sign up, what are the things I need? Our application, our Cognito library is saying for sign up, you require 3 parameters: name, email, password. So I'm saying, can you please sign up? Let me say, name is K. R. Krishna Mohan Koya. Email glarimai@gmail.com, and some password. Password is for this application. I'm now registering here. It is not Gmail password, it's some password. Password policy says that there should be capital letter and blah blah blah, right? So let me write glarimai@123, maybe something like this. So with this, what happened? The registration should work. The registration should work, and we should receive an email. We should receive an email to that email ID glarimai@gmail.com. Registration done. Registration done. So if you see what I'm doing from the client side, I'm not doing it from the browser. You will be doing this in the, you will be adding all these JS files into your HTMLs later. But from the browser side, or from the client side, instead of just saying client, now we are having several layers. The first one is your actual application. This is your this is register.js. This is the actual client you are developing. Let us come to this one later. And this guy is using the services of Glarimai Cognito.js. And this guy is using the services of, what is that service name? We have seen it here, right? Amazon Cognito Identity.js. Amazon Cognito Identity.js. That is an NPM package. It is an NPM package. Glarimai Cognito.js is also an NPM package. Currently it is in the local machine, but you will be publishing it as a package. So means on the client side, we have these 3 layers. And who is the actual one talking to the Cognito now? For now, currently we are doing registration, right? For registration, it should directly go to the Cognito service. Registration is nothing to do with a particular gateway. It should directly go to the actual service. So who is actually connecting to the Cognito service for registration? It is the Amazon one. It is not we. Amazon has given some code. We don't even know what is there in that. Glarimai Cognito is what I have developed to some extent. Register.js is like any other client application. So there may be 100 different varieties of such clients. As long as they are going to work with Glarimai only, they use Glarimai Cognito, so that Glarimai Cognito internally uses Amazon Cognito Identity.js, which talks to the Cognito. So now let me run this application. New terminal. I have already shown you, like in my Amazon user pools, there is only one user at this point. There is only one user. So if registration is successful, we should get one more user there. And if registration is successful, then I should receive an email as well, right? Because I have given my Gmail. I should receive the verification code onto the Gmail only after I run the application, of course. Okay. So now let us run. Who is my client? Register is my client. So let me go there. Node register.js. So I run this application. It is using, this register is using sign in function. Sign in function. Okay, it should say like sign in is not defined because I haven't this is wrong. I need to say sign up here actually. It's going very slow. No, you are with me. You are not asking any questions. You are just silently. You are fully silent.
I'm listening.
You should actively ask questions. Otherwise, I do not know whether you are really following me or not. What is happening?
Okay.
Node is still. Okay, system is node is little slow because this first time we are running after the reboot. Looks like it's going a little slow. Anyway, let me save this file. So I loaded sign up from index of so and so folder. What is my index? This is index, and this index is getting it from Cognito. So this is a specific way of developing the code. Basically, the sign up is from Cognito, and this register.js is a client application which is using that sign up function by giving their name, email ID, and password. So if everything goes fine, we should get the message saying registration is successful. If something goes wrong, it should print that error message, whatever it is. It is not saying any one of them. Even for clear also, it is taking time. Something heavy is running on this machine, looks like. I'm not sure. Node register.js. All right. So what is it saying now? It is saying registration is done. So as an application, client application developer, let's say if you are developing a client application like ERP application, and there you want to have registration flow, all you need to do is like write these 3-4 lines of code without worrying about all the internal things which are coded in the cognito.js. So if registration is done, I should receive a message. Yes, I already received this message stating that this is your verification code. We are supposed to write an appropriate email. As of now, I'm not bothering about it. If I get the registration code, that is more than enough. And in the user pools also, there should be a new entry now. All right, I got a new entry. This is currently not confirmed. Yeah.
Now, so you tell that we don't need to write the cognizant.js file anywhere. We just have to import it.
Who ERP developers?
Yes, yes.
But your work is not that one. Yeah, who is the ERP developer now?
Sandeep.
Priyanka. You are moved out of ERP project now.
Yes, yes. Okay, got it.
You people are no longer in the ERP project. You are into now security project.
Okay.
So just like I have written couple of functions in the Cognito saying sign in and sign up and such kind of things, you need to write for other flows like confirming password, forgot password, unregister a user. So all those things you need to write in the Cognito. You will be extending the Cognito service. Currently, Cognito is having only 90 lines of code.
Four functions.
4-5 functions. Yeah. Now I'll be giving you different enhancement requests to add few more functions to this, so that Priyanka or someone else will be using our Cognito like this to develop the security layer for their application by writing the login screen. Currently, what we are doing is hard coding these things, right? In this one, rather you may have a form asking for give the username, password, and your name. You click on register button, and that button will call on click event handler, and that event handler will be having this piece of code where you will receive the actual username by saying the document get element by ID, blah
blah. Okay, got it.
So in this diagram, instead of register.js, it would be an ERP application. That's going to be your client. Okay. So your job, both you and Sandeep will be working on Glarimai Cognito for a while till you get all the other functionalities done. Amazon Cognito is already there, and the backend setup I have already finished. ERP is something that will be developed once this Glarimai Cognito is fully ready. Currently, I have only sign in, sign up, confirm, sign up. I think these are the things I have. Forgot password, changing the password, signing out. Those things I don't think I haven't implemented them yet. You will be implementing several such kind of additional features.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
for this time, me and Sandeep will be working on JavaScript.
Right. Both
Totally
of you will be
behavior.
completely JavaScript.
Okay.
It is completely JavaScript using ECMA modules and Cognito API.
Okay.
Amazon Cognito, not Glarimai Cognito, rather Amazon Cognito. Oh, what does it mean? If you see here, this is where you have this Amazon Cognito identity. All right. So that is what you will. Yes. That is where you will be working. You will be using their calls. So for instance, if it is just now I have shown you like registration, right? To sign up, what is the actual code I have written? This is the code I have written. Right. This code, how do I get a clue like how should I write? It is from their documentation. I have shown you, right? They have given
yes.
npm.js documentation. It's not exactly like this. We need to look at like, okay, this is how basically it needs to be done. How we can do for our particular systems. So that is how we need to keep changing things. They were only asking for what? In the example you have seen, they have a phone number, right? In our case, we have email ID. So I have written code for the email ID rather than phone number to register. All right? You can register by phone number or email ID. Different things I have used. They give an example for phone number. We did it for email ID.
Yeah, got it.
All right. So now what we have seen, this is okay. A new user is registered, yet to be confirmed. Email verified? No. Their email is so and so. Their name is so and so. And this guy already received the what do we call the what is that email? Also is received. We can see that the email is the verification code is received. So what I need to do now, I need to call other API to confirm. So for that, instead of register, let me have confirm.js. These are all smaller examples I'm writing. If it is an ERP developer, all these things will be part of their application itself. May or may not be different JS files. So in the confirm.js, what I'm doing, I am copy pasting this one. This time it is not about sign up, rather it is about confirm password. So in the Cognito, not in the Cognito actually, I need to look at the index.js. This is where I'm exporting. Verify is the name. So in the confirm, I'll be importing verify, and I'll be calling that verify function. To verify what I need to give the you can see that it is saying like email and code, right? So that the email is glarimai@gmail.com/ this, and code number is this one. All right. If there is no error, it is verified. Maybe we can say activated. Sorry, I am writing in the wrong place. If everything is fine, it is like this. If something goes wrong, then we need to catch it and we need to print what was that error, whatever is there. Why I'm writing a special function again? Why don't I write it in the register? Because if I run this register again, it will again try to register these things. Let me run it again. It should fail. Instead of saying registration done, it should fail this time. What is it saying? Username exists. An account with this given email already exists. All right. So these are all already in place. We need to write API so that it is we are making things easier for the end developer. So in the confirm.js, I am only confirming. So no registration this time. Only confirming for this guy. Confirm.js. Let's see what happens. Activated. It said activated. Means if I go to the user pools and refresh this, all right, email verified. Yes, it is verified. All right, it is verified and it is enabled and confirmed. Means people can actually start login using these username passwords. using these usernames and passwords. Now, so let us have the other one, the register confirm. This app is actually about a real application. Let's say in the application, let's say this verification and all these things are already completed, and what this app does is now is to make this call, this API call. All right, let us do this without signing in first. Let me do this without signing in. You can see that code right there. There is sign in code. I have commented that. Rather, I'm using the other function, that is get resource. Basically, I'm saying like, this is my resource. Get this particular resource. That's what I'm saying. Means make a get request to this URI. What is get resource is doing? Get resource is part of our Cognito only. I have made this function ready here already. This is get resource. So this guy is actually trying to get the session, blah, 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 identity tokens, by a lot of stuff. It is setting up the authorization headers and blah, 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 blah. And finally, it is making the real call and getting back. It should get back the response. That's the idea. But now I am not logging in. Rather, I simply saying like, oh, go and, sorry, what is it? App. Go and get me the resource. What is it saying? It is saying get session of null. I cannot do it. Lots of stuff. It's not doing. It's not actually working properly. Right? Now let me sign in otherwise. What is the email ID? glarimai@gmail.com. What was the password we have given? glarimai@123. So this time we are logging in. We are telling that first you sign in, then get this resource. So if I do this, there is a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes now. All right, and I hope you know finally if this is really working, we should get back this as the response. I hope you remember that, because that is what we have written in the Lambda.
Yes.
All right, so that means once we sign up, once we sign in, we are able to get this one. Without signing in, we are not able to.
Yes.
Without signing in, we cannot get this. So this is the kind of thing I want you to develop. Currently, I have developed the sign-in flow, sign-up flow, get resource, and confirm password.
Yes.
You will be spending a couple of days on this code to understand like what is actually written, how it is written, why, what is this code really doing. You try to understand and learn a few things. And then I'll be assigning you the enhancements like, okay, now you add this API, add this feature, that feature. In a few days, probably in a couple of weeks, you will be completing this entire security layer, so that anybody can use this security layer as far as Glarimy is concerned, and they can add this security layer to any of their applications. For instance, in the case of Sandeep using fetch API calls, fetch calls he is making, if you are aware of that one. He's making some call called fetch, and he's giving these URLs to fetch the vendors list, PO list, and blah, blah, blah. Those calls won't work once I enable security for those APIs in the gateway. I am only adding this authorizer only for temp. The moment I add the temp, the authorizer for even these guys also, your current ERP application stops running, because every time it fails saying like unauthorized. Right? So for it to work, the ERP application has to make a lot of changes. We don't want that kind of a thing. So that's why what we are doing is we are creating a Cognito kind of our whatever Glarimy Cognito as a library, and saying like, okay, from here onwards, instead of making fetch call, you make get resource and don't make any changes, any other changes. You need to first sign in, and after that you need, instead of fetch, you need to say get resource. It would work. Means wherever they are making fetch call, they need to replace it with this line 5. That way you are going to enhance the application of ERP to go with the security layer as
well. Okay, got it.
Okay. So now let me show you what is actually happening behind the scenes in the Cognito.js. When we say log, in these cases, it is straightforward. Sign up is very simple. When you are signing up, it is creating It is asking the user pool, that is Cognito user pool. What is this pool object? Somewhere here I have created. How it is created? By providing the pool ID and client ID. So we need to have those things first ready. So this is the pool ID and this is the client ID, which we will give them only whoever is the administrator on the Cognito side. They set up all these things and they let you know, okay, Vishnu, this is the pool ID and this is the client ID. You can develop your client application. So that you will create these objects. And once you have the pool is having the sign up function, how do I know? That is what that Amazon, this guy, that library is giving that sign up function. We are writing a wrapper for that in a way. So this sign up is expecting email ID. So we are receiving that one. Password. So we are getting that one. Attributes is an array of this nature, Cognito identity user attribute array. Each array should have each element in the array should have what is the name of the attribute and what is the actual value. What those names are essentially in the Cognito. If you look at these attributes, there are several attributes, right? These are all attributes. So whichever attribute you want to add, for each of the attribute, you need to create one element like this. This is another element and you make an array out of it. In our case, I enabled only email and name. So those are the values I'm sending.
Okay.
And once I pass all these things, then it is doing that job. If there is an error, it means it failed. You reject this promise. Otherwise, if there is a result, that means you resolve this problem. This is called as promise framework. Maybe you need to spend some time on understanding how JavaScript promises are and how they work. And then to verify this guy is expecting to confirm registration, they require code and they require user object. What is user object? User object is based on the email ID and the pool. So pool is anyway, that is user, we have already, pool is already created for us. So I'm saying like, okay, whoever is wanting to confirm their verification code, let them send the email ID and code. You put that email so that you get the user object and then you pass the code. If everything is going fine, you resolve. If error happens, it is rejected. That is verification. These are pretty straightforward. But when it comes to sign in, there is a funda behind this. We need to understand a few things here. What do we mean by sign in? Logging in. Login means I need to send my username and password. In our case, email ID is the username, right? I need to send username and password. Then what the server will do? When we say sign in, the call will go here. Cognito will verify username, password proper or not. If it is proper, what is that it sends back? That is the question. What is that it sends back? See, when I'm signing in, I'm not saying like what I want to do with that. I'm only saying that I just want to log in. So when I log in, what is that it responds back with? It responds with, you can see here, right? Once I have these credentials ready, username, password, I get this user object, and on the user, I say authenticate the user by giving the credentials. And then either it may be successful or it may be failed. If it is failure, reject this promise. If it is successful, means once I get the proper result, what is that I do? See, from the result, I need to get something called ID token. From the ID token, I should get so and so a thing called get JWT token. Get JWT token. If you want to see the token, how it looks like, you can print here. Just for this purpose, identity token. Let us print this. This is only sign in, right? Any number of times I can sign in. So let me sign in again. App.js in which we are signing in. Okay. Let me not do the rest other things. Only sign in. Okay, so that it will be quicker. So let me run this. Once I sign in, it is sending ID token from which I am getting JWT token. That is what the code is showing. This is the JWT token.
Okay.
Whatever you are seeing on the screen is the JWT token. What is JWT token mean? It is essentially like, let's say you went to some restaurant or some secured place. They ask you to say like, show your PAN number, show your Aadhaar number, blah, blah, blah. That is like, it is as if like you are providing username and password. And after that, what do? They may give you a token, maybe a coin or a printed paper or some other tag, ID card or something, some token they give it to you and say like, as long as you are here, you please carry this token, or whenever you come back, you please carry this token. You need not again tell you your username, password, your Aadhaar card, PAN card. As long as you show the token, that is more than enough. Vishnu, are you aware of this kind of
Yes,
thing in real world?
yes, I'm aware.
Right. So
It happens in hospitals.
hospitals. Okay, something like that. Yeah. So here these tokens are nothing but a unique strings only, nothing more than that. They are just unique strings, whatever you're saying. Any string is fine as long as that string is not shared with anybody else, right? If you again send this string to this application, the application will see like, okay, this string I have only given this string earlier. This is unique string, so that means I can believe in this guy. It is as simple as that. Let's say you got a token. If I go to a bank, they give a token. Typically, they look like plastic coins. I'll get a blue color token with number 2, let's say, in which there is a stamp also. Next time when I went there, I just show this token. What they do not really ask like, who are you, why you came, and all those things. They look at the token by stamp and other things, hologram or something. They say like, yeah, this token is valid token. Token number 12 means you need to go there. Please go there and your job will be done. Same thing here. So it is just a unique string, nothing more than that. But later what happened is like, anyway, it is a string. Why don't we put some information into the string so that people can, when you submit this string, this token back to the server will know something about you as well, right? So that's the idea. So that's where they have created the things called JWT tokens, whose full form is JSON Web Tokens. JSON Web Token. So this is a simple site where you can verify your tokens and create tokens and etc. if you want to do some debugging and other things. The tokens can be created using for different applications. These are .NET, for Python, for Node.js, right? So we don't know how that Amazon Cognito is written internally. If they have written it in, let's say, JavaScript, or most probably they might have written in Java, they will use these libraries. We don't care all these things. What is important, what is that I want to show it to you is, right? You can copy this token and paste it here. Right? This is the token we received, I pasted. And immediately this JWT, it knows like how to encode this. Once it encodes, it is showing like it has used a security algorithm called RS-256. And payload data in the purple color. The payload data says that email is verified, name is Krishna Mohan Koya, this is internal Cognito username, the email ID is Larry Gmail ID. Hope you're understanding this one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what it means is that even though it is not a very readable code, but even though it is a unique code, but it is still carrying some information. It is still carrying some information. What is that information? It is saying that, okay, if it is a valid token, let's say I just remove one letter from here. See, it is invalid. Immediately it became invalid. Somebody need to really have that proper thing only. Otherwise it is of no use. So first they check whether it is valid. Second one, they check whether it is issued by them or not, means Cognito. Third thing they check is like, okay, who is that? Who is the user? Okay, this is the user. This is the password. So if they want, sorry, not password. This is the email ID. They know few things about it, so that in the application logic you may use this one. Maybe when you want to check the database, you may see like a database against this email ID to get all the clients of this email ID, something like that. Some information you are passing. So this is the token. So now how this JWT tokens work is that, let me go back to the diagram. Right, the way it works is like when you, let me put it here otherwise. There are several things are happening here, one after other. When you are signing in, not registration, all those things are out of this picture, you know it anyway. When you are sign in, what you'll be giving is username and password. Client gives this to the Cognito. And what Cognito does, it does the verification checks. Right. It does the authentication. Verification means authentication. And what it returns? Can you tell me what it returns?
Token.
Token. Very good. What it returns is a token. We call it as ID token. Identity token. Identity token is just a string in the form of JWT. It is a token only.
Okay.
It is having a specific format so that somebody can encode and understand what is there within it. Remember, these tokens are not secrets. They are not really secrets. Anybody who is opening the debugger can see what is the token they are receiving, because it will be in the payload somewhere. And they can go to this website and see like what is there in this. There is nothing really secret about it. There is nothing really secret about it. So that's why people say like when you are working with some confidential websites, please don't leave your computer. If you leave your computer, I can just within those 5 minutes, I may come to that place without knowing your username and password. I can go to the debugger, pick up this JWT token and copy paste into my thing. From my machine, I can log in from other place. This is what we mean by token stealing. That is possible. Token stealing is possible. So that's why you need to be very careful that when you are into a specific session, you need to be there at the computer. Once you've done everything, you log out so that the token becomes invalid.
Okay,
right? It is like you went to a movie theater, you gave the ticket, and he cuts it and gives you half part or something, right? It doesn't mean that there is any name or something. If that half part, if somebody steals that half part from you, they can also get it. It is up to you to make sure that that particular piece of paper is with you always. All right. So on one side you have the client. When I say client, anybody, need not be browser. Just like now we are seeing a simple, what is that? A simple JS file is also doing the same thing, right? So it doesn't matter who is the client and other things. It can be a mobile browser or normal browser or just a Java application or REST client. It can be anything. And these tokens are generally valid for maximum of 1 hour. This JWT token. Let me show you one small tamasha. Let me open REST client. Sorry, like Postman clients. You know this REST client thing? You're aware of it?
Yeah.
Right. So let me make let us make a call. So if I am making to this guy, it is not accepting it, right? It is saying unauthorized. The same URL. Let me make the call from here. Same get operation, same URL. Here also it will say unauthorized. Why? Because I am not sending the token. From here onwards.
Okay.
Once you receive the token, the next job is like whatever you may say. Whatever you may say in every call, it should go along with the token.
Yes,
let's say I'm making a get so and so URL, fine, but along with that URL, you need to send that token. You do not send your username, password all the time. Rather, you just want to keep sending the tokens. What Cognito does, Cognito or your server does, it just checks that token. If token is fine, it completes that URL call. Otherwise, it will again say like it is unauthorized.
Yes, got it.
Okay, so now currently we are not sending the token. Now let us send the token. How do I send? We need to set a header called authorization header. So let me set up a header called authorization. In the authorization header, I need to say, I think bearer. If it is JWT, it should be bearer token. And I need to copy and paste this token. So now what happened? If I make the get request, it goes along with this bearer token. Let me see if it is accepted. Yeah, it is accepting. I'm getting the response saying, okay. If it is from a curl call, this is how it looks like. Curl is a standalone application. Any client, right? See, currently how many clients I am showing it to you. This is a node client, right? Whatever I have tried here. This is a standalone client called REST client. I can also do the same thing from a curl operator. Curl is a command, you know.
Yes.
Let me make a curl command. Here also I'll get the response. See, temp lambda is working.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who is making. This is where I'm saying, like, whoever is having this token, they will be able to access your API now. So your job is to make sure that this token is not visible to each and everybody for any ABCD kind of a guy. Am I?
Yes, got it.
Okay. So now let us come back to our diagram now. So you get the token and it does the verification and it gives you the appropriate response, whatever is the response. Okay. So now what I do is I'll do one more tamasha. Now let me I can make this call from here any number of times. Let me say send again. It is still saying let me okay, any number of times it is still saying 200 lambda temp is working. Now what I do is I'll run once again. If I run it once again, what happens? The sign in is happening once again, right?
The token may change.
Token changes, but I'm not giving this token. I'm trying with the earlier token.
The old token. Yes.
Old token. What should it say now?
It should actually not work unauthorized.
Right. Let me say send. It is still not saying that. Why? Because I haven't logged out.
Okay.
There are 2 tokens now available with this fellow.
Yes. Got
Right?
it.
We do not. I haven't implemented the logout flow.
Understood. Yes.
Because of which there are 2 tokens given to the same user. If there is a proper logout, these are all like, how do you develop your application? Let's say Gmail is there from your laptop and your mobile. Can you log into the Gmail from both the devices simultaneously?
Yes, it is possible actually.
It is possible. Means each of the desktop browser is getting 1 token, mobile client is getting another token. Both the tokens are valid.
Yes.
Instead, if we write the application in such a way that once the sign in is happened, all other tokens should be automatically invalidated. If I write my security layer like that, then what happens? When you log in from desktop, you'll get the token. When you try to log in from mobile, it logs in there. But when you try from desktop, it says like, no, you already logged in from somewhere else. You log out from there, then you can log in. Maybe there are some systems which typically bank applications work that way.
Yes.
Because they expect that there is only 1 user for a given account and that user is supposed to work from 1 machine at a given point of time. In fact, they develop logic in such a way that where is the IP address of these 2? If mobile is coming from Hyderabad and the desktop browser is in Bangalore, then definitely there is something fishy here, they won't allow it. So that is all logic, internal logic only. Okay, so this way we can get any number of tokens. Actually, this one is also a valid token only, but this one and the earlier one are not exactly the same tokens, even though both of them are valid tokens. Okay, so if it is from the client like this, I set up this header called authorization header, blah blah blah. If it is curl, you have seen how that curl command looked like. But what if it is from the web application like this? This is where we have written this additional thing. We said like once you sign in, the token is received. We are not store. Do you see anywhere am I storing the token here in this code line 4?
No.
But the sign in is actually going where? To the Cognito, our API. And what this Cognito is doing is, our sign in API is doing is, once the user is authenticated, once it is successful, once they get the identity token, what I'm doing is I am storing them.
Okay.
That piece of code is actually to store in. For the given login, this is one more token, identity token. I'm adding that identity token so that it is stored into the application. Means till this application is completed, that particular token is actually available in the memory. It is going to be available in the memory as a variable inside. What is that variable name? It is the variable AWS, which is actually coming from a different library called AWS SDK, which takes care of these things called caching and etc.
Okay, got it.
So now when I actually make the request, get request means when I want to programmatically make a request like this, get so and so, what I need to do is now is that not only that I make the fetch call, fetch in the sense making the call to that particular URI, that temp URI. Also, I need to send the headers. And what is a header? What is a header? Authorization header. Do you see here what I have written? Authorization bearer and
Yes,
the token.
bearer
Same
and
I'm
token.
doing here. Authorization is the token, the header name. Header value is like bearer space and the actual identity token. But where is this identity token? This was there. This was received while we are signing in, and it was stored in the AWS config credentials.
Yes.
So whenever I'm making the call, internal, what is it doing? It is going to the user pool, getting the current user. Automatically, it goes and does that job for us. This pool is not our library; it is Cognito library that our Cognito is using. Okay.
Yes, got it.
So get current user means it gets the session. Once you get the session, again get back that token, whatever is stored. It is not coming from the server. It is already received and stored in the local machine. It is getting that identity token, and that is what it is sending. That means now when we make this fetch call, it is not only that it is making the URI, giving the URI and get as the operation, it is also giving that authorization header, because of which it gets the response.
Okay, yeah.
Similarly, we need to make calls for posting some data into the server. This is to get the data, to post the data, to update the data. Similarly, we need to write code for sign out. I haven't written that so far. Sign out means you can easily guess. Sign out means go to that pool, instead of saying get current user, blah, 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 you say get current user, delete user, something like that.
Yes.
So how do I know? That is where because it is what do you call that API? Whose API? Cognito API, JavaScript, Cognito SDK. So they have given that those what do you call APIs. So how do we delete a user, or how do we log out? Let us see. If we go to their, it is because somebody has written it, their documentation only will help us. There is no way you can identify automatically. We need to see delete, if there is anything called delete, deleting user attribute. It is delete user, deleting an authenticated user. Oh, deleting means you are removing the user itself. Yeah, here there is sign out. Yeah, all you need to do is like, okay, signing out is one line code, looks like. Cognito user, sign out. What is Cognito user? If you go through this documentation, you will get to know somewhere they might have created Cognito user upfront. They might have told you how to create a Cognito user. Cognito user is by creating Amazon Cognito identity, Cognito user by providing user data. User data means username and pool. User pool means so and so pool data. Pool data means this one. See, there is a lot of wiring here. That much is already done from our side. We have done that one. I just made it ready. Many of those things. So just like when we say sign in, you are getting the user, and then you are saying authenticate user. Similarly to what do you call to what is it? Sign out. Where is it? Yeah. To sign out, user.sign out. Maybe one line code it is when you write the sign out method. Similarly, confirming the password or removing the user directly from there. See, this is the global sign out, means all other, whatever are the identity tokens, all of them. See here, global sign out for an authenticated user means invalidates all issued tokens.
Okay, so whenever he signs in, whatever tokens are there, everything will get cleared.
Right. Earlier, what I said is like, even though there is a token, if I sign in, we'll get one more token. Both the tokens are working. That's what I said.
Yes.
Maybe if you have different machines, from both the machines, you are signing in. If you sign out from one place, what is your expected behavior? Should it sign out only from this place or sign out from all the devices? If it need to be signed out from all the devices, all the tabs, then the call is not to call sign out, rather global sign out.
Okay, now I got it. Got it.
Right. So, so those things, such kind of things, I'll be giving you the enhancements. You will be, what do you call, filling up those things. All right. And one more thing is like these identity tokens, once they are issued, they will not be valid forever. Let's say whatever issue token we have seen here, right? Some time back, this is the token we have seen. But this token is not valid forever. By default, token is only valid for what do you call, 1 hour.
Okay.
Okay. Once 1 hour is completed, you can actually set it. Most of the banking websites set it up for 30 minutes. If you do not do anything for the next 30 minutes, it automatically invalidates. It automatically signs out.
Yes, yes.
But Gmail kind of applications or YouTube kind of things, they're not related to security per se. They are not such confidential or very sensitive things. So they typically give it for eternal. Unless you clear the cache, they are always there.
Yes, yes.
How can be there when I am saying that these tokens are only valid meant for only 1 hour by default? It is because it is not that just see, even in the case of authentication, there is something called refresh also. I think I'm not doing it.
I think it'll update the token.
Yeah, here it is. I thought I'm not doing it. After storing this one, immediately what I'm doing is like I'm saying refresh token.
Okay.
Credentials or identity token is stored into the credentials. Okay, credentials in which I am storing this one. Immediately after that, I am saying refresh. What happens is like, in place of identity token, you will get back another token called refresh token.
Okay.
These refresh tokens are valid for 1 year.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So in your application, if you are storing the refresh tokens, without logging in, a user can work for 1 year. However many number of times they close the browser, but when they open the browser once again, they are already logged in only because the token is still valid. It is stored into the local storage or some other.
Okay, if that is the case, then why don't he at the first log in with a like 1 year token? The token with last
No.
1 year.
Not every application look for 1 year, right? Long term. Maybe there are very small, very highly confidential applications. Confidential means risky applications like banks and other things, right?
Yes, yes.
So if they give 1 year, if this user forgot to log out, what will happen? For the next 1 year, somebody is holding that laptop, means they can do hundreds of transactions. Huge loss it is going to be.
Okay. Okay.
So to avoid that, what they give is like 2 varieties of tokens. One is short-term token, that is identity token. Another one is long-term token, that is refresh token. By default, they get identity token. So depending on your kind of application, you may just only ask for identity token and tell the user saying that within 1 hour you finish everything. Otherwise, your things will not work. For instance, if it is Amazon website, Amazon e-commerce store, mostly girls and need not be girls also, but mostly what people does is like they log in and they keep on searching for products, isn't it? Do you think it may actually take more than 1 hour also sometimes?
Yes, it will.
Right. So if this token is invalidated within 1 hour, what will happen? After 1 hour, they actually try to book this, put this into shopping cart. It again asks you like log in again. Will you be happy?
No.
No. So for such kind of applications where it is not that somebody is squeezing the money out of Amazon, rather they're actually paying there, right? The risk is less.
Yes, yes.
The risk is less. So in Amazon, if you log into my Amazon account, what you may do maximum, you can book something and it comes to me only. It's not like you are stealing from me. Or you may try to change the delivery address or something. In such case, they may again ask you to send an OTP, and they take care of other ways and means to make sure that it is done properly.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. Instead, if it is a bank application, if I forgot to log out, anybody can log in and transfer money from this account to his own account. So that's
Yes.
why they have given two varieties. One is like either you have this token for short-term token if your application is risky. Otherwise, you can ask for long-term token, that is refresh token.
Okay. I have one more doubt. For the identity token, that the identity token will get destroyed after 1 hour. That's what you say.
Right.
Independent of which whether the user is interacting with the UI or not. That is what,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Whether
So
they are
once
using
he
it
logs in, the count. Once he logs in, the countdown starts for 1 hour.
Right. Your let's say if it is ERP application, what I am doing here is like the moment I get the identity token, immediately I am getting the refresh token.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, we are doing that way for our Glarime application. That is how I am doing. Right.
Yes.
But bank sites, what they do is like they start the countdown immediately after they get the identity token. After 30 minutes, they will pop up a message saying that would you like to continue or should I log out?
Yes, got it.
Right. If you say continue, then what they will do? They will go and ask for the refresh token. If you are not responding, the token will automatically get expired.
Yeah, got it.
The bank servers typically give even refresh tokens also for 30 minutes because 1 year is too risky for financial related applications.
Okay. Is the refresh token created based on the JWT?
It is also JWT.
Okay.
JWT is just a format.
JWT, yeah.
It is just a format. It is like you get a token, whether it is in English or French. That's the difference. But what is the information in that? That is same.
Same. Okay.
How these tokens are created are like basically based on your IP address, the time zone, the username, password. Plus, there is something very much secret on the server side. Means you cannot create a JWT token on your own and give it to the server. Server will say like, no, I have never given this token to you. It will say immediately.
Yes, got it.
It is like a hologram. You cannot create hologram of some other bank, ideally speaking.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I wanted to explain you or demonstrate it. So your job is to understand these things fully. Try to understand what is JWT, what is identity token, what is access token. There are a few things. What is refresh token? You can search and try to understand those things on your own. What is JWT? Let's say. Typically, if there is any Medium document, the Medium articles, I suggest you go through those things. Apart from others, whatever you might want to look at, but these things are written I like many times Medium articles. I like what is the JWT, how it is. You have seen it, right? Just now I have shown you these things.
Yes. Header, payload,
what is header, payload? What is this algorithm means? What it contains? How it works? Right? See, user is signing in. Then what internally happening is it is generating the JWT, and that JWT token is returned back to this guy. Then you send authorization bearer header, then it verifies with, I said something is secret, right, on the server side. So they use that secret to verify whether whatever you are giving as the JWT is really right or wrong. If it is right, then it will say like, okay, and then if we go back to our diagram here, if it found that it is verified properly, then the Cognito will say, when you are making the actual calls, of course, when you are making these actual calls, like the temp resource and other things, then it goes to the Cognito saying like, okay, I got a call, get temp with an authorization token. Can you please take this authorization token and tell me whether it is verified? API gateway asks the Cognito. Cognito using its internal secret and blah, blah, blah. It says, yeah, it is verified. Then API gateway say, okay, Lambda, you go and do your job now because I found that this person is valid. Then Lambda returns back saying that whatever you have seen there.
Got it. Yes.
So try to understand what is this thing. What do you call? Maybe this is one thing, and also try. JWT is just a format, I said, right? Apart from this, also understand what is identity token. refresh token and access token, what they are. These tokens comes in JWT format, but what these tokens are really all about. Again, you may try to read one in one place or other place, try to understand what they are. Yeah. And also try to understand what is Cognito. Typically, this Cognito related things comes from AWS only. User documentation of AWS is useless. It is purely technical. It is not like explaining, rather it is mostly like SDK kind. Maybe you can look from other authors. You can try to understand from there. In a couple of days, if you finish that one and try, if you are able to understand the code that I have written, why I have written this way, if you get that hold of those things, then I'll be issuing the other enhancements. What I want is like, if you can finish them in this week in the sense first week of January, means next week. Today is Friday, right? So from Monday, starting from Monday, if you can start work on this one, Monday, Tuesday, if you try to understand this code, what I want is like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I want you to finish this code, the rest of the APIs.
Okay.
Then we can go to ERP and replace our fetch calls with our Cognito calls.
Okay, got it.
Sounds interesting?
Yes, yes.
Very good. Okay then. So any other questions for now?
No, I'll take a look at it. I may get a question after that.
Okay, okay. And this work is for both you as well as for Sandeep. So you can start working together from, maybe you can start right away, but he will join you back on Monday. Ask him to go through this presentation once fully, and then maybe you can start work on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay, bye. I'll share this thing.
Okay, where can we find this code in the repository?
Repository, same name. Let me see, Larry My Cognito. Right. This is the code.
Okay.
Currently, 1 second. I think I have given access to you only. I thought of giving different projects to you both people differently, but I got second thoughts. Maybe if you do it together, you will learn more better and quicker. I'll be adding. Oh, I haven't given to any one of you. Say it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I haven't seen this repository.
Right. Let me add both of you. I am currently giving only read access.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, you can now check if you are able to see that.
Yes. 1 minute. It's loading.
Okay.
Yeah, Clarity Cognito.
Right. So that's the one which you'll be working on. And I have given the temp URL. Once you start working on the other operations also, I'll be giving post URLs and etc. For your testing purpose. This temp is only for testing purpose.
Okay.
Okay. Very good then. I'm stopping now.